What's good, everyone? This is Artists of Truth coming to you with another vlog entry, and this is an interesting one. A few days ago, I was pulled over and I was arrested. So let me tell you, basically, I was between the hours of 11:30 and midnight. I was on my way home. I had a house call, so I was on my way home after I finished the house call. I was pulled over by a K9 unit, and as soon as the officer pulled me over, and I shut my engine off and everything, and I rolled my window down as soon as he got in my line of sight. So I asked him 3 questions. First question was like, what is the nature of this traffic stop? He refused to answer that question, but he proceeded to ask me for my ID. So, and I cooperated. I reached for my glove box, opened it up, and took my wallet out, and and proceeded to take my ID out of my wallet. So in the midst of it, my second question came in. I asked him, am I being arrested? Am I being detained? He didn't answer that question either. So by this time, I repeated the first question, which was the second time, third question. I asked him, excuse me, sir, what is the nature behind this traffic stop? And by this time, I had my ID sitting on top of my wallet, and my wallet was sitting on top of my right leg. So, of course, in this angle, my wallet was here. My ID was on top. He was right there in the window. All right. So when I asked him that question, he said, get out. So I was like, get out? I didn't get out. So he went around, came around on this side. I had my seatbelt on. He opened my door and put his hand up under my arm. When he lifted, I was like, okay, I already know what's about to happen. So I was like, all right. I unbuckled my seatbelt. He proceeded to pull, and I stood up. He said, turn around. I turned around, and I put my hands behind my back, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to try and resist at all. So I put my hands behind my back. He took me to the front of his patrol car. Now, this is where the bullshit really gets interesting. After he places me under arrest, because he actually physically came out of his mouth and said that I was being placed under arrest. So, okay. He proceeds to tell me exactly why he pulled me over. And at that point in time, anyone with any ounce of common sense will ask them, would be like, you know what? Why are you telling me this when you could have told me that when I was sitting in the car? Let's cooperate here. But technically, he goes off to tell me, you should have given me your ID when I told you to. I was like, you should have answered my question when I asked you. But you want me to cooperate, but you don't want to cooperate with me. So he was like, you know what, you should just go ahead and plead the fifth. I don't have anything else to say to you in this, that, and fifth. I was like, okay. I was like, that's not your job to tell me that. I was like, because if that was the case, you should have been answering my questions when I was sitting in the car, and we wouldn't have never gotten to this point. I was like, but you're acting out of character. So at that point, he stopped talking to me. So I had someone else that was on the phone, that was on speaker, that was listening to the entire conversation. The entire conversation. And, of course, they got on the phone. After the officer signaled for a backup to come, after he came and searched my pockets and everything, checking to see if I had any weapons on me or anything of that sort. They put me in the back of another vehicle while they ransacked my car. All right. So they came up with less than an ounce of marijuana, which, That's a first for me. A less than an ounce of marijuana, which was technically a citation, no grounds to, for being arrested. Next, something of mine was stolen because I didn't find it once I got my vehicle back. I did not find what was originally in my vehicle, so it was actually stolen by this officer, which is another reason why I'm filing criminal charges against this particular officer. But I wasn't locked up for long. I got out probably about 3 hours later, and my friend spoke with the supervisor, and the supervisor agreed that the officer was, he did not perform his duties in a upright, professional manner. So after having to pay to get my car out of impound and bond out, I felt that it was only right for me to take the necessary actions. And this is one of those things that I stress to people. I don't want to force anything on you, but I don't want you to be totally and completely in denial about knowing what your rights are. This is serious. I received 5 citations. 3 of them were from my vehicle: tag light, headlight, window tint. A citation for less than an ounce of marijuana in my possession. And then on top of that, I received a citation for obedience to an officer. I guess obedience or disobedience, whichever one. It was code 19-9. Look it up for yourself. I don't know how that shit applies to me, but I looked at it. I was like, what kind of shit is this? You have to be mindful that you have crooked cops out there. And just because you are pulled over, if you are not loud, belligerent, disrespectful or combative towards the officer, but you have every right to question him, because they work for us. We don't work for them. They are not paying us shit. Our tax dollars, our monies are paying their salaries. So stop being a fucking coward. Stop being afraid to question these police officers, because this is exactly what's going to happen. And I've already checked with another police officer. I've already checked with an attorney, and they've pretty much told me that I have a solid case against this police officer. But I'm not just going to stop there with the police officer. I'm going to hit the whole police precinct. For the simple fact is, if this type of action has been taken on me, then it clearly states that this is an inoperative police station. This is the inoperative police organization. And you should never sleep on these cops, because you have some dirty cops. You have some cops that will violate your rights. They will steal from you. And I feel like this: if you steal from me, you are not a cop worth being respected. You are a thief at that point. And I feel that your name and your image should be put out on Front Street. You need to be blasted. Someone needs to put you on spot, so they can know that, hey, if I get pulled over by this individual, I'm asking for the goddamn supervisor. If I get pulled over by this individual, oh, I know who you are. Bad. Yeah, let me see your ID. Let me speak. I'm like, you know what? I want to speak with your supervisor. I want to speak with your supervisor. I will give your supervisor my identification. I'm not giving you anything, because I already know your background. I know that you are a thief. I know that you will violate a person's natural rights. So, no, I'm not going to cooperate with you. Get your supervisor. I don't want to hear shit else that you have to say. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not opening my doors. I'm not doing any of the sort. I'm going to sit here. You need to call your supervisor, because I'm not. No, I'm not even going to have any sort of interaction with you. And that's the end of the conversation. You do not have to be a coward. And I understand that there are some people out there that will actually come out and say, well, you know what? You're being uncooperative and this, that, and the fifth. I was like, no, that's not uncooperative. Asking questions is not being uncooperative. What's being uncooperative is when there's a question being presented and you refuse to answer it, even though you are in a position, even though they are in a position, they have every right to question you as a police officer. They have every right. So if you ignore their questions, then they're not going. Why should they be cooperative with you? Why should they sign any contractual agreement, aka citations, unknowingly, not knowing that, hey, I'm signing into a contract that could further screw me over? When, hey, I know what my rights are. No, I'm not going to sign this. No, I'm not going to speak to you. That's not being uncooperative. That is exercising your motherfucking right. That is exercising your right. And too many of us are just so, oh gosh, we're so scared. We're so scared of, we're so scared of just operating in, in our capacity to say, you know what? I know what's right. I know what's wrong. Guess what? You're not going to screw me over. You're not going to screw me over. You're not going to steal from me. And that's basically what has transpired with me just a few days ago. So, in closing, again, make yourself familiarized with your rights. This is not a game. As long as the court system and police officers know that you are illiterate when it comes to your rights and what laws cover you, as long as they know that you're ignorant to it, they will do everything in their power possible to take advantage of you and abuse their authority and physically and emotionally abuse you. So in the meantime, in between time, I will keep you all updated and posted on any changes. So you enjoy your Sunday afternoon.